The Wives of Avalon Estates, Book 3, The Call She Answered, written by Mare Sutton, published by Avalon Press, and Earreads Production. Chapter 1. Melissa. I pulled the door open, ground coffee and warm milk, a pastry case along the left wall. The music came low from a speaker above the door. No one cried. No one needed a snack, a wipe, or an answer. My shoulders dropped exactly 1 inch. I built this hour from scratch. Babysitter confirmed by 7 a.m. Lila's bag packed the night before. Owen's backup snacks sat in the zippered front pocket where the babysitter could actually find them. 1 hour. Mia, the foster folder. That was the plan. Jerry announced he'd come along at 8:53. He needed to be in the area. Vague reason. Already had his keys. I did not argue. I did not have the energy to locate the argument, aim it, and survive the aftermath before 9 a.m. So he came. Mia sat near the window, 2 cups on the table. She ordered for both of us. She looked up when I walked in, and I saw it immediately. The tight skin around her eyes, the careful, straight posture of a woman who cried all morning and decided she was done with it. She managed a smile. "Hi, Mia," Jerry said. He dropped his phone on the table. "Sorry, I was coming this way too." He looked down at the 2 coffees. "I'll grab something. Get out of your way." He joined the line. 3 people deep. Phone already forgotten on the table beside the sugar caddy. Mia caught my eye. I mouthed, "Sorry." She shook her head like it didn't matter. I sat down across from her. The foster folder sat open between us, 2 inches thick, tabbed in red and blue. I built that folder over 4 separate evenings after the kids were in bed. Home study checklist on top, background authorization forms behind it, financial disclosure packet rubber-banded to the inside cover, 47 pages of administrative architecture so Mia could walk into any caseworker meeting and look prepared. I pulled it toward me, uncapped my pen. Tab 4 still needed the notary stamp sorted by date. 3 pages flagged with yellow stickies. I flagged them in the car while Jerry drove and talked about the highway traffic. Mia wrapped both hands around her cup. The words came slow at first, then faster. Roger, the accounts, the second mortgage, the IVF money. 5 years of not the right time turned out to mean something else. I kept my pen moving, easier to listen when my hands had a job. The barista laughed at something behind me. Jerry's voice carried from the counter, relaxed, unhurried, the voice of a man with nowhere urgent to be. I turned to tab 6, 2 reference letters submitted, 1 outstanding. I made a note in red. The folder's cover had a small coffee ring near the bottom corner. Not mine. I used a coaster. Mia pointed to page 31, a flagged signature line. I found it. Wrote the correction in the margin. Small, clean letters. My handwriting steadied when everything else didn't. Jerry's phone lit up. The screen turned white against the wood. The name read, Dana, his sister. The preview text sat fully visible below it, still doing whatever Melissa needs, LOL. I read it once. The screen went dark. Jerry came back from the counter. He set his cup down, sat, and picked up his phone. His eyes dropped to the screen. The corners of his mouth moved. He laughed, short, easy, quiet. His thumbs moved 4 seconds. He set the phone face down, picked up his drink. That line took forever. He did not look at me. I set my pen down, wondered why he was here. The folder sat open between Mia and me. 47 pages, 4 evenings, the notary stamps, the red ink, the yellow stickies flagged in a moving car while Jerry talked about traffic. I thought about the legal pad at home, his dry cleaning circled in red. Owen's pediatrician folder in my phone labeled Jerry won't check this. Lila's school registration pulled off the district website at 11 p.m. because no one else would find it. I thought about last Sunday. His mother at the head of my dining table. Dana's voice from the kitchen. She really doesn't cook the way Mom does she? The table went quiet. Jerry laughed. Same laugh. Same 4 seconds. Dana sent 6 words. Jerry laughed. And I sat across from my neighbor's grief with a red pen in my hand, building somebody else's future, managing everybody's everything, while his family made me the punchline. I did not file it. I did not find the gracious exit. I left it exactly where it landed. Mia turned to page 38, pointed at her concern. I made a note. My handwriting came out clean and even. I capped my pen, dropped it in my bag. The decision sat in my chest. Quiet, already finished. I was done managing the table so everyone else could eat. Chapter 2. Jerry. I handled the coffee shop well, ordered fast, tipped 20%, made the barista laugh twice. Small things, but they mattered. Melissa never noticed that kind of social effort because she took it for granted. I hit the remote. The SUV chirped. I climbed into the driver's seat and checked my notifications before the door even closed. The interior smelled clean. I had the car detailed recently, or someone did. It always got handled. I didn't look to see if Melissa was in. I waited for the click of her seatbelt so I could pull out of the lot. Finally, it came. I dropped my phone into the console and pulled out of the lot. Melissa sat quiet beside me. Not talking quiet. The other kind. The kind that sat in the seat and radiated. I knew this mode. 10 years of marriage taught me to recognize it. I tagged along to get coffee. I knew she wouldn't mind. Something snagged her mood back there. The thing with Mia, probably. Mia always sent Melissa home heavy. It wasn't healthy, honestly. Melissa absorbed everyone else's problems like a sponge. I merged onto Aldrich. The Chicago trip landed on Wednesday, 3 days out. I needed the blue suit dry cleaned and back by Tuesday night. I also needed dinner taken care of before my noon call today. Something real. Not sandwiches, small asks, reasonable ones. I glanced over. Melissa stared out the window. I decided to let the logistics wait 1 minute. Handle the mood first. That was the smart play. I learned that. Get her feeling good, then bring up the practical stuff. Work with the situation in front of you first. The corporate card included a wellness credit, unused since January. $250 at the Meridian Spa on Halstead, full service. The kind of place that fixed exactly this kind of thing. "Hey," I said, "I want to do something for you." She looked at the window, not at me. "The Meridian," I said. "I've got a credit sitting there. $250. You take a whole afternoon. Get the works." The lawns moved past her window. "You've been dealing with a lot," I said. "Mia's stuff, the kids. I see it." I did see it. That was the thing people didn't give me credit for. I noticed. I didn't always know what to do with what I noticed. The spa credit was doing something. That was better than most guys managed. Melissa didn't reach for her phone. Normally, she would pull it out. Check the calendar. Ask about pickup times. She ran logistics the way I ran client calls. Fast, organized, already 3 steps ahead. It was one of the things I relied on her for. The phone stayed in her bag. "So that's Wednesday?" I shot her a glance, then eyes back on the road. "Or Thursday works too while I'm away." Nothing. I shifted lanes. The neighborhood opened up ahead. Big lots, clean lines. I chose this zip code deliberately. Not every man could deliver this. I provided well. That mattered. Also, the blue suit. Chicago trip. Can you check on that today? The dashboard sat quiet. Usually she'd nod, or say, already done, or tell me the cleaner was closed on Mondays. She did none of those things. A small, tight knot pulled in my chest. Just for a second, the way a client goes quiet when a pitch isn't landing. I pushed past it. And tonight, I've got the call running long. If dinner's ready by 6:30, that works. I waited for the okay. I waited for the I'll handle it. The silence stretched until it felt like a physical weight in the car, reasonable, specific. I gave her some time. That was considerate. Some guys didn't even do that. She said nothing. I turned onto our street. The driveway came up on the left. I pulled in, cut the engine. The house looked good. It always looked good. Melissa kept it that way. I appreciated that. I told her that. Maybe not a lot, but I told her. I turned and gave her the full smile, the one that closed deals, patient, warm. The spa credit was a real gesture. $250, a whole afternoon. Most women would have said something by now. Melissa looked at the house through the windshield. I waited. She opened the door, got out, pushed it closed behind her. Not a slam. Worse than a slam. Quiet. She walked toward the front door without a backward glance. I watched her through the glass. The key went into the lock. The door opened. The door closed. I sat in the driveway with the engine off. She needed a massage. Women were complicated. I picked up my phone and checked the time. Chapter 3. Melissa. I woke up at 6:43. Old habit, Sunday habit. My body ran this schedule for 4 years without an alarm. By 7, I would have the roast in the oven. By 8, the silver out of the drawer. By 9, the dining table set with the good placemats, the linen ones, not the everyday ones. And by 10, the house would smell like something was being tended. I lay on my back and stared at the ceiling. The ceiling did not move. The house sat quiet. Lila breathed through the monitor on my nightstand. Owen's door sat closed down the hall. The heavy bulk of Jerry's shoulder rose and fell beneath the duvet. He slept late on Sundays. He always slept late on Sundays. I got up. The kitchen floor ran cold under my feet. The refrigerator held half a carton of milk, a container of leftover rice, and 3 juice boxes I bought for the kids. The pantry had cereal, a box of crackers, and the good olive oil I used for the roast. The roast, still in the refrigeration aisle at the grocery store. I stood in front of the open refrigerator for a full 10 seconds. The cold air moved across my shins. I shivered and closed the door. I put the coffee on instead. This was the math of it. Every Sunday for 4 years, I executed a 12-step production by myself without a list, without instruction, without thanks. I sourced the roast, polished the silver, set the table, and moved the toddlers through their naps. The timing was always on schedule. They were dressed and presentable when the doorbell rang. I absorbed every critical comment Jerry's mother made about the seasoning, the centerpiece, the children's table manners. I smiled at Dana across the good linen placemats while she texted on her phone. Actually smiled. For 4 years. The coffee dripped into the pot. The microwave clock read 6:51. Jerry came down at 9:15. He wore the gray sweatshirt. He went to the refrigerator first, the way he always did, as if the answer to every question lived there. He held the door open. He looked at the same 3 things I looked at 2 hours earlier. Did you go to the store? No, I said. He turned around and looked at the stove. The oven light was off. The roast pan sat clean in the drying rack from last Sunday. He looked at the counter. No silver, no placemats, no evidence of a meal in progress. Jerry's eyebrows went up. My mother gets here at 2. I know. He opened the pantry. He stood in front of the cereal, the crackers, and the good olive oil. Melissa. His voice carried the note, the one just before sharp. There's nothing here. I know, I said again. I poured my second cup of coffee and sat at the kitchen table. Owen came down the stairs at 9:40 in his pajamas, one sock on, one sock missing, the way he always came down on Sundays. I got him cereal. I got Lila from her crib, changed her, and brought her to the table. I poured 2 small cups of juice. Jerry stood at the counter, looking at his phone. He texted someone. His mother, probably. Then he put the phone down and looked at me. Are you doing this right now? It wasn't a question. I'm giving the kids breakfast, I said. He ran one hand over his face. The spa credit did not fix anything, and that confused him. I saw the confusion from across the kitchen. He applied the correct solution. The solution did not work. He didn't know what to do with that. Jerry went back up. I played with the kids. He came down just before 2. The doorbell rang at 2 o'clock exactly. His mother arrived on time. She always arrived on time. The front door showed 2 shapes through the frosted glass. His mother and Dana. Jerry looked at me. I stood up. I carried Lila to her room. I changed her into the red jacket and the corduroy pants. I came back for Owen. I put his shoes on while he protested. I picked up the diaper bag from the hook by the garage door. I picked up the car key from the key bowl. They need a nap, I said. We're going for a drive. Jerry stood between the kitchen and the front hall. Melissa. They're tired. My mother is at the door. I looked at him. Then I looked at Dana's shape in the frosted glass. Still doing whatever Melissa needs, LOL. Jerry said my name again. I opened the garage door. What are we supposed to eat? 6 words. I did not answer. The garage smelled like cold concrete. I buckled Lila in. I buckled Owen in. I put the diaper bag on the floor mat. I got in the front seat. I pushed the garage door button. It rumbled up. The kitchen door to the garage was still open. I saw Jerry through the small gap. He stood in the same spot. He did not move. I started the car and backed out. The garage door came down. The driveway ran smooth beneath the tires. The fall air hit the windows. Avalon Estate stretched out ahead of me, every lawn perfect, every driveway swept, every house holding its shape like nothing difficult ever happened inside it. I pulled onto the street. Behind me, Jerry opened the front door. His mother stepped inside. Dana followed. The house was immaculate. The silver was in the drawer. The good placemats sat folded on the shelf. The refrigerator had nothing in it. I drove. Chapter 4. Jerry. I opened the front door with a smile. My mother stepped in first. She wore the beige coat, the good one. She wore it every Sunday like a statement. Dana followed, already scanning the room the way she always did. Entry, living room, kitchen, a fast sweep. Grating on arrival. Something smells off, my mother said. It didn't smell off. It smelled like nothing. That was the problem. No roast, no garlic, no warm bread from the good bakery on Fenwick that Melissa always picked up on Saturday. Just the cedar air freshener from the hallway plug-in and the flat, neutral smell of a house where nothing was cooking. Melissa took the kids out. I said, she'll be back. My mother looked at the kitchen. I looked at the kitchen. The oven light was off. The counter held nothing. The good silver sat somewhere in a drawer. The linen placemats sat folded on a shelf. I watched Melissa retrieve them every Sunday for 4 years. I did not know which drawer. I did not know which shelf. Dana set her bag on the entryway bench. So, what are we eating? I rubbed my hands together. I'm handling it. My mother's expression shifted. Not disagreement, not agreement. I went to the refrigerator. The same 3 things from this morning stared back at me. Half a carton of milk, leftover rice in a container, 3 juice boxes with cartoon animals on the front. I closed the door. I opened the pantry. Cereal, crackers, the good olive oil in the tall green bottle. I picked up the olive oil. I set it down. I pulled out my phone and searched Easy Sunday Dinner fast. The results came back with sheet pan recipes and slow cooker instructions. The slow cooker sat on the second shelf above the refrigerator. I never operated it. I did not know if we owned a sheet pan. My mother sat at the dining table. She did not remove her coat. That was a signal. I knew that signal. She sat in her coat when she decided not to stay long, when she decided the visit was not worth settling in for. She folded her hands on the bare table and looked at the placemats in front of her. The placemats were wrong, not the linen ones, the everyday ones, brown woven things that lived on the table all week. Melissa swapped them out every Sunday morning. I observed it without watching. The way you stop seeing things that always happen. I turned to Dana. Where does she keep the good placemats? Dana gave, why are you asking me? Shrug. You don't know? I opened 3 drawers, spatulas, batteries, takeout menus, a tape measure, and a birthday candle shaped like the number 3. The 4th drawer held dish towels folded in thirds. I found the placemats in the cabinet below the island, stacked flat, wrapped in the dry cleaning plastic Melissa used. I pulled them out. I set them on the table. My mother watched me set them. She said nothing. I went back to the pantry. I found a box of pasta behind the cereal. I found a can of crushed tomatoes on the back shelf. I could make pasta. I made pasta in college. It was not complicated. I filled a pot with water and set it on the stove. I turned the wrong burner on first. The back left element glowed red under the empty skillet. I turned that one off and turned the front right one on. Dana leaned in the kitchen doorway. She just left you here? She took the kids for a drive. I said, they needed naps. Dana's eyebrows narrowed. On Sunday, when Mom visits? The water sat cold in the pot. I stared. It's fine. Dana pulled out her phone. Her thumbs moved. I knew that rhythm. I saw it at the coffee shop table. The same 4-second movement. I looked at the pot. I did not ask who she was texting. She does this, Dana said. This passive little... Dana. My own voice surprised me. Sharp. Fast. Donna looked up. I turned back to the stove. The word passive sat in the kitchen. I used that word myself. Last month to Ron, she gets passive when she's in a mood. I said it like a man explaining a minor inconvenience. A weather pattern. Something that happened to you. The water did not boil. A watched pot never boils, the saying goes. I heard it my whole life, but never internalized it until now. My mother spoke from the dining table. Jerry. Her voice came measured, patient in the way that was not patient. Is everything all right with Melissa? I turned around. She sat in her coat, hands folded, the bare table in front of her. No roast, no silver, no bread from Fenwick. The linen placemats I found in the wrong cabinet, placed crooked, with plastic wrap still creased into the fabric. She's fine, I said. She wasn't here last Sunday either, mentally. She's tired, I said. The kids. My mother looked at her folded hands. A tired woman still feeds her husband's family. The pot sat cold on the stove. I opened my mouth. I had nothing, no defense, no detail, no information. I did not know what Melissa said to her the last time they spoke. I didn't know if Melissa called to confirm today's dinner, or where she took the kids, or when she planned to come back. If she planned to come back. I did not know any of it. I did know the kitchen held the smell of nothing. My mother unfolded her hands and looked at me across the empty table. I looked back. I felt like a stranger in my own house. Chapter 5. Melissa. His mother's car was gone. I sat in the driveway for a moment. The engine ran. Owen slept in the back with his mouth open and one shoe off. Lila dropped her cup somewhere near mile 3 and stopped caring about it. The afternoon light came flat and gray through the windshield. The house looked the same from outside. Immaculate, maintained. Not a thing out of place on the facade. Avalon Estates was good at that. Everything terrible happened behind very clean windows. I pushed the garage door button, drove in, and cut the engine. I unstrapped Owen first. I got him up and over my left shoulder, his head slack against my neck. Then I unstrapped Lila and hitched her onto my right hip. She grabbed a fistful of my collar and held on. I carried them both in. I laid Owen on the couch with the blue blanket from the basket by the stairs. I set Lila in the playpen with the stacking rings. She accepted them without protest. Then I walked into the kitchen. The placemats sat crooked on the table. The good linen ones still creased from the plastic wrap. A large pot sat on the stove. A white film coated the inside rim where the starch dried. A wooden spoon sat on the counter with dried tomato on the handle. A can of crushed tomatoes, open and empty, sat next to the sink. The lid of the can was pushed partway down instead of removed cleanly. A thin red ring marked the counter where it sat. The stove was off. The kitchen was cold. I did not touch any of it. Jerry stood in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room. He changed out of the gray sweatshirt and now wore the navy pullover, arms crossed, the posture of a man who had rehearsed this conversation while I was gone. "Where were you?" "I drove the kids. For 3 hours. They slept. They needed it." The wooden spoon sat on the counter with its red handle pointed toward me. I looked at it. I looked back at Jerry. "You humiliated me in front of my mother." The pot had a film of dried starch at the water line. He let the water boil down, or he never let it boil at all. Either way, that pot needed soaking. I did not fill it. "Your sister sent me a text," I said. Jerry's jaw moved. "That has nothing to do with—" 6 words. I looked at him. "She sent 6 words mocking me. You read it. You laughed. You said nothing." "Dana was joking." I pursed my lips and nodded. "That's the problem. A joke." He uncrossed his arms and walked to the kitchen. He put one hand on the counter, 2 inches from the tomato can. He did not notice the red ring beneath it. "You're going to blow up Sunday dinners over a text message." I shook my head. "I'm not blowing anything." I kept my voice low and calm. "I'm telling you something true. I will not attend another family function until your family treats me with basic respect. That's it." "That's... Melissa, my mother drove 40 minutes. "I know how far your mother drives." I calculated that drive for 4 years. I timed the roast around it. I scheduled the kids' naps around it. I polished the silver and sourced the bread from Fenwick. I swapped the placemats to the good linen ones so your mother would walk into a house that looked like I did nothing at all. I did not say any of that. The crooked placemat said it for me. Jerry's palms turned face up. "So what? You just quit." "I quit attending dinners where I'm the joke." I nodded a few times. "Yes." He looked at the ceiling, then at me, then at the ceiling again. The posture of a man searching for the argument that would reset everything to default. The argument that would send me to the sink. the argument that would end with me soaking the pot and him on the couch and all of it smoothed back down by morning. "This is not normal behavior," he said, shaking his head. "No, it's not." I picked up Lila's cup from the counter, rinsed it, set it in the drying rack. One thing. The one thing that was mine to do. Then I walked to the stairs. "So that's it?" His voice followed me. "One bad Sunday, and you're done." I stopped. The banister sat under my hand. Cool wood. I refinished it 2 summers ago. Sanded it myself on a Saturday while Jerry golfed. Stained it twice for an even coat. I turned around. The kitchen sat behind him. The crooked placemats, the starch pot, the tomato ring on the counter, the open cabinet where he searched for the pasta. The junk drawer hung slightly open, the way it always did when someone unfamiliar went through it. I looked at all of it. "It's not one bad Sunday," I said. "It's 4 years of bad Sundays. And one text. And one laugh." Jerry said nothing. "Clean the kitchen. I'm not doing it tonight." I went upstairs. The steps did not creak under my feet. I shimmed the 3rd one last spring. Jerry did not notice the creak disappear. He did not notice it was ever there. I went to the bathroom. I washed my hands. I looked at my face in the mirror for a long moment. Then I went to check on Owen. Chapter 6. Jerry. The bourbon was good. That was the thing about the clubhouse bar. Everything else in Avalon Estates required maintenance. The lawn, the image, the Sunday dinners nobody appreciated. But the bourbon was just good. No effort required. I set the glass down. The ice melted to 2 small chips. Daniel sat to my left. Ron to my right. The 3 of us claimed the corner of the bar the way we always did. Wood paneling behind us. The good light overhead. The kind of bar that reminded you why you worked as hard as you did. I earned this bar. "So she just left," said Daniel, "with the kids." "With the kids," I confirmed. My mother stood at the door, Dana inside, empty kitchen. Ron turned his glass slowly. "What did she say when she got back?" "That she's done going to family dinners." I picked up my drink. Because of a text Dana sent. Daniel shook his head. The slow, knowing shake of a man who saw this before. "The mood thing?" "The mood thing," I agreed. I tried to explain it to Melissa 3 times since Sunday. The spa credit was a real gesture. $250. She did not use it. She did not mention it. She made the kids' lunches on Monday morning and said 11 words to me before I left for work. I counted. "What was the text?" Ron asked. I told him. 6 words. The LOL. Dana's tone. Ron waved a hand. "That's Dana being Dana." That's what I said. "Melissa's sensitive," Daniel said. "Vanessa gets like this too. You just have to wait it out." The bartender set a fresh napkin in front of me without being asked. I nodded at him. Small acknowledgement. I was good with staff. "I tried the gift," I said. "Didn't land." "Wrong gift," Ron said. "Or wrong timing." The timing was fine. Daniel leaned forward, his elbows on the bar. His voice dropped to the register men use when they are about to say something true. "You provide," he said. "That's your job, and you aced it." "Right." "The house runs because of your direct deposit." "Correct." "So hold the line." Daniel sat back. "Don't apologize for a dinner your sister caused." The ice clicked against my glass. That was the thing. I did not cause Sunday. I did not send the text. I did not laugh. Well, I laughed, but not at Melissa. At Dana's tone. There was a difference. Melissa collapsed an entire Sunday dinner over a difference. I was the one who looked bad to my mother. I was the one who stood in a kitchen that should have been full and wasn't. I boiled pasta in front of her while she sat in her coat. I left the mess on the counter too, the starch pot, the tomato ring. I figured Melissa would soak it when she calmed down. That was her domain. Chicago's Wednesday, I said. I'll be gone 4 days. Perfect, Ron said. Let her stew. That's my thinking. You come back. The house is still standing. The kids are fine. Ron turned his glass again. She'll have burned through it by then. The bourbon sat warm in my chest. That was the correct read. Melissa was not irrational. She was tired. She took on too much of the Mia situation last week. A good husband recognized when his wife needed space to level out. That was what I was giving her. Space. The Chicago trip was not avoidance. It was professional necessity. The Harmon Group meeting was worth $400,000 in billings if I closed it right. Melissa knew what that meant. That meant the mortgage, the car, the zip code, the clubhouse bar with the good bourbon. I provided the infrastructure. She ran it. That was always the arrangement. I did not invent that arrangement. It grew naturally. She was good at it. Better than good. The house ran without visible effort. The kids were fed and clean. The calendar stayed full and organized. My dry cleaning appeared on the hook when I needed it. Appeared. I pushed that word aside. She mentioned the text directly. I said, by name, the words. Daniel nodded. She wanted you to fight Dana. At my own dinner table. In front of your mother. Daniel shook his head again. That's not how it works. I twirled the bourbon. No, it's not. I put down the glass. Ron leaned back. He looked at the row of bottles behind the bar, the good labels up top, the well liquor below. When's the last time Melissa came to the club? I thought about it. August, maybe. She used to come every Thursday. She's busy with the kids. Ron said nothing. He turned his glass. The bartender moved to the far end of the bar. The room held 4 other tables. Low voices. The sound of a good Tuesday evening in a neighborhood where things looked correct on the outside. I picked up my glass. The bourbon caught the light. As long as the direct deposit hit, I did not need to explain myself. That was not cruelty. That was clarity. I had a role. I executed it at a high level. I flew to cities. I sat in rooms. I closed the kind of deals that paid for orthodontists and summer camps and spa credits that sat unused on corporate cards. Melissa had a role too. She was exceptional at it. The fact that she stopped performing it this week did not change the underlying structure. She would level out. I lifted my glass. Chicago. I glanced from Ron to Daniel. And when I land back here, we reset. Daniel raised his. Ron raised his. The ice clicked. Outside the clubhouse windows, the Avalon Estates lawns ran dark and perfect in the Tuesday night. Everything looked correct from out there. Chapter 7. Melissa. The oatmeal took 4 minutes. Water first, then the rolled oats, then the pinch of cinnamon Owen liked, and the half-spoon of brown sugar Lila got because she would scream otherwise. I timed this sequence so many mornings it lived in my hands now, no thought required. The stove clicked on, the pot warmed. Upstairs, a drawer opened, then closed, then opened again. I stirred the oatmeal. The suit ritual used to start on Tuesday nights. I built it over 4 years. Chicago trips, Houston trips, the Denver conference that ran 3 days longer than scheduled. First, the blue suit from the dry cleaning bag. Inspected under the bathroom light for any missed spots. Then the steamer. 2 passes on each panel. Held 6 inches from the fabric. Then the hanger. The wide wooden one, not the wire. hooked to the closet rod in the spot I kept clear for travel prep. Dress shirts next, 2 white, 1 blue, pressed and stacked in the luggage in the order he would need them. Toiletries restocked the week before, travel size everything, arranged in the clear bag by frequency of use, the itinerary printed on the marble island, the car service confirmation circled in blue ink. The oatmeal bubbled once at the edge. I turned the heat down. Upstairs, something heavy dragged across the floor. The luggage, probably. Jerry kept it on the high shelf in the master closet, behind the winter coats I organized by weight and season. The suitcase sat up there since the Houston trip in September. 6 weeks of dust on the handle, the telescoping grip stiff from disuse. He would not know that. He never retrieved it himself. Owen climbed into his chair. He put both elbows on the table and looked at the pot. I tilted my head in warning. Hot. He accepted this and looked at his hands instead. Lila pulled at my pant leg. I lifted her into the high chair with one arm, clicked the tray, set the spoon on the edge of the tray where she could reach it. Another drawer upstairs. The sound of hangers, the fast, disorganized slide of a man searching without a system. Jerry's ties lived in the 3rd drawer of the closet island, rolled, sorted by color, the way I organized them after the last trip. He grabbed the wrong one for a client dinner once and called me from the hotel bathroom for the name of the Windsor knot tutorial I bookmarked for him. I bookmarked it. I poured the oatmeal into 2 small bowls. Owen's went on the placemat. Lila's went in the divided plate with the rubber bottom so it wouldn't slide. The dragging sound again. Heavier this time. The suitcase on the stairs. I did not go to the bottom of the stairs. I usually went to the bottom of the stairs, stood there and called up the items he forgot. Belt, phone charger, the backup charger, and the black pouch in the nightstand. The folder with the Harmon group, brief I printed, paper clipped, and set on his desk on Monday. I sat down at the kitchen table instead. Owen blew on his oatmeal. Lila pushed hers with the spoon experimentally. Footsteps moved fast across the upstairs hall, into the bathroom, cabinet opening, the specific silence of a man looking at a shelf he never fully saw. The toiletries bag lived on the 2nd shelf, left side, behind the travel-size shampoos I restocked automatically when the supply dropped below 3. He would not find it on the first try. He would find my moisturizer, his backup razor, and the box of bandages I kept there for the kids. He would not find the toiletries bag until the 3rd shelf. I ate a spoonful of Owen's oatmeal off the edge of his bowl to test the temperature. Still warm. Fine. The footsteps came back down the stairs. Fast, uneven. The particular rhythm of a man carrying something he didn't pack properly. Jerry appeared in the kitchen doorway. The suitcase sat half-zipped on the floor behind him. A dress shirt was folded wrong, the collar bent sideways, visible through the gap in the zipper. His blue suit was not in the bag. I could see that from where I sat. He had the gray one instead. The gray one had a pulled seam at the left shoulder he didn't notice because I stopped pointing things out after the 3rd time he forgot. He looked at the kitchen, at me, at the table, at the bowls. I can't find the steamer, he said. Linen closet, I said. 2nd shelf. He didn't move. The shirts aren't right. I looked at Owen. Blow on it first. Owen blew. Melissa. Jerry's voice had the note. I have a car in 40 minutes. Okay. I need the blue suit. Dry cleaning shelf, I said. Laundry room. He stood in the doorway another moment. He looked at the suitcase on the floor, at the half-bent collar visible through the gap. Then he picked it up and went back upstairs. I finished my coffee. Lila dropped her spoon and got oatmeal on the tray. She looked at it like it had betrayed her. I handed her the spare spoon. She accepted it. Jerry came back down at 7:51. The suitcase sat fully zipped now, the handle up, his coat over one arm. He looked better. Not right, but better. He stopped at the kitchen doorway. "You're really doing this." I looked up. "Safe flight, Jerry." He stood there. "I mean it," I said. "Safe flight." He picked up the suitcase. He walked to the front door. It opened. It closed. The car pulled out of the driveway at 7:54. I gave Owen the last spoonful of oatmeal. He opened his mouth like a small bird. The house sat quiet. It never felt this clean. Chapter 8. Jerry. The hotel mirror did not lie. I stood under the bathroom lights at 6:43. The gray suit hung on the back of the door, the shoulder seam pulled left. Not drastically. Enough. The kind of thing you saw once and couldn't unsee. A diagonal pucker marked where the fabric separated from the lining. It caught the light wrong. In a Harmon Group boardroom, it would catch it the same way. I turned the jacket. The seam ran 3 inches along the left shoulder. Not a tear, a release. The thread gave up slowly, quietly, over months. I wore this suit to the Denver conference, to the Whitfield dinner in September. It pulled the entire time. I did not notice. Melissa did. She mentioned it once back in the spring. Something about the shoulder on the gray one. I said it's fine and moved on to whatever I was reading. It was not fine. The blue suit sat in the dry cleaning bag on the laundry room shelf at home. I knew that now. I found out yesterday morning in 11 words from Melissa while she fed the children oatmeal and did not stand up. I put the gray jacket on. I looked at the seam. I took the jacket off. The dress shirts were worse. I folded them myself on Wednesday morning, fast, with the suitcase already half-zipped and the car 12 minutes out. The white one had a diagonal crease across the right placket. Not a fold, a crush. The kind that required a steamer in 10 minutes and the specific technique Melissa used. Flat hand first, then the nozzle. Always with the grain of the fabric. The hotel iron sat on the shelf in the closet. I set it up, ran it over the placket twice. The crease softened but did not leave. I pressed harder. The iron caught the edge of the collar and left a shallow shine on the cotton. I put the shirt on anyway. The Harmon Group brief sat somewhere in my bag. I printed it myself Monday night after Melissa didn't. 4 pages, no paperclip, folded once and dropped into the outer pocket of the suitcase. I pulled it out now. The fold held through 2 days of travel. The paper softened at the crease. The numbers on page 3 ran across the fold line in a way that made them hard to read. Melissa's versions were always printed the night before the meeting, single-sided, paper-clipped at the corner, tabbed if there were multiple sections. She read them before she clipped them. She circled the figures that needed emphasis. She left a note in the margin of page 1, always page 1, with the name of the lead contact and one line about their priority concern based on the email chain she also read. I did not know she read the emails. I thought she printed and filed. That was the job, in my head. Print, file, handoff. A clerical function. I looked at page 3 across the fold line. The cab dropped me at the Harmon building at 8:51. The lobby ran marble and chrome. I signed in. The elevator opened on the 14th floor. The assistant led me to the boardroom. 4 people already seated. Grant Harmon at the head. His CFO to the left. 2 others I recognized from the last call, but whose names lived in the email chain I didn't reread. I set my folder on the table. Grant Harmon looked at my shoulder. Not long. A second. The professional courtesy of a man who noticed and chose not to say anything. His eyes moved back to the folder in front of him. I started the presentation. The numbers on page 3 crossed the fold line. I read them off and felt the small hesitation, 2 beats, maybe 3, where a clean copy would have kept me moving. I pushed through it. I moved to the revenue projection. I cited the wrong quarter. I caught it, corrected it. Grant Harmon wrote something on his notepad. I moved to the risk summary, page 4. Melissa's note would have sat in the margin of page 1. Harmon priority, Q1 exposure, not long-term growth. Something like that, precise, pulled from the last email thread. I skimmed that thread on my phone in the cab. I led with long-term growth. The CFO looked at the table. Grant Harmon set his pen down. The meeting ran 40 minutes. It should have run 90. Grant thanked me with the particular warmth of a man who had already made a decision and was waiting for me to leave so he could confirm it. His assistant had my coat at the elevator before I reached the hall. The cab back to the hotel smelled like air freshener and someone else's morning. I sat in the back seat with the soft brief on my knee. I bombed it. Not because of nerves, not because the numbers were wrong. The numbers were right. I built this pitch over 3 weeks. The strategy was solid. The revenue projection was defensible. I bombed it because I walked in looking like a man whose wife stopped covering for him. The seam, the shirt, the wrong quarter on page 3. The silence where the margin note should have been. Small failures, each one. Collectively, they said something about the man in the room. They said he showed up halfway. He always showed up halfway. The other half came home on a printed brief with a paperclip and a margin note from a woman I left standing in a kitchen that morning with 2 toddlers and a pot of oatmeal. The cab stopped at a light. I looked at the brief on my knee. 4 years of successful Chicago trips, Houston, Denver, the Whitfield dinner, all of it built on an infrastructure I never once looked directly at. I called it luck. It was not luck. The light changed. The cab moved. I looked out the window at a city that did not care about my shoulder seam. Chapter 9. Melissa. The kitchen held only one mess. Owen's cereal bowl sat at his usual spot. Lila pulled her spoon off the tray and dropped it on the floor. The juice box on the counter was mine. 3 things. That was the full inventory of Saturday morning's aftermath. I stood at the sink and counted them. On a normal Saturday, the counter held Jerry's coffee mug, always left 2 inches from the dishwasher, never in it. His travel tumbler sat beside it if he headed to the club. A cereal bowl, his own, left with a skim of milk at the bottom because rinsing it was apparently optional. The newspaper, unfolded and refolded wrong, took up the left third of the island. His keys in the center where I needed to prep, his phone charger plugged into the outlet I used for the coffee maker, the cord draped across the backsplash. The backsplash ran clean and clear this morning. I rinsed Lila's spoon, put it in the rack, wiped the counter in one pass. Done. The master suite was the same. I made the bed in 4 minutes. My side, his side. No throw pillows displaced from his sitting on the edge to put his shoes on. No dress shirt draped on the valet stand because the dry cleaning pile was too far. The bathroom counter held my things and my things only. The soap dish sat dry. Nobody left the shower running 2 minutes past the hot water point. I pulled the bedroom door closed behind me. The house breathed differently this weekend. I did not have a word for it exactly. Not silence. The kids were never silent. Owen already disassembled the block tower twice. Lila found the set of measuring spoons and worked through her opinions on each one. But underneath all of that, the house held a different weight. Or no weight. A neutral state I forgot was possible. I started the casserole at 10, not the roast. Not the good linen production. A simple chicken and rice casserole, the kind I made when I cooked for myself, before the Sunday dinners became their own category of labor. Chicken thighs seasoned with salt and paprika, rice at the bottom of the dish, stock poured over. An hour in the oven, and it was done. No silver to polish, no placemat rotation, no timing it around a car that arrived at 2 o'clock on the dot. This one was for Pamela Cummins. Her youngest had a stomach thing last week. I knew because I saw her in the driveway Wednesday morning, loading a sick kid into the car with the particular efficiency of a mother who already rescheduled everything and told no one. I waved. She waved back. We were that kind of neighbors, the kind who noticed without being asked. The casserole was not a performance. It was a casserole. Owen helped me put the lid on the dish. He pressed both palms flat on the ceramic and pushed with great seriousness. I smiled. Good. He looked satisfied. I put the dish in the oven. I set the timer. I took the kids to the backyard. The yard sat quiet in the late morning light. The grass held the last of the season's green before the cold came for it. Owen went straight for the sandbox. Lila sat on the bottom porch step and examined a dead leaf with the focused attention of a scientist. I sat in the chair at the end of the porch and put my feet on the railing. The chair held the warmth of the morning sun. I did not pull out my phone. That was the first thing I noticed. On a normal Saturday, the phone came outside with me. Chicago weather, flight tracker, the calendar for the following week already loading in the background of my mind. Jerry's noon call reminders, his dinner reservation for the client he always forgot to book until Thursday. The phone sat on the kitchen counter inside. I did not check it since breakfast. I watched Owen pour sand from one container to another. He did it slowly, with great care, then dumped the full container back and started over. Lila progressed from the dead leaf to a pebble. The porch held the smell of the neighbor's fireplace, 2 houses down. I breathed. The oven timer went off at 11:40. I brought the kids inside, pulled the casserole. The kitchen filled with the smell of paprika and warm stock. Simple, honest, nothing to prove to anyone. I covered the dish with foil and set it on the counter to cool. My phone sat where I left it. I picked it up, no missed calls. 2 texts, one from my mother, one from Mia, nothing from Jerry. I did not check the Chicago weather once this week. I did not track his return flight. I did not know what time it landed tomorrow. I did not put it in the calendar. I held the phone for a moment. Then I set it face down on the counter. The casserole cooled enough to carry. I loaded the kids into the stroller, Owen in the back, Lila up front with the snack cup, and walked it 2 houses down to the Cummins place. Pamela answered the door in a sweatshirt, the good kind, worn in. She looked at the dish and then at me, and then at the kids in the stroller. "You didn't have to," she said. "I know." She took the dish. We stood on her porch for a minute in the way of 2 women who understood the value of a minute standing still. I walked the kids home in the thin October sun. The house waited at the end of the driveway. I did not miss the system. I did not miss it at all. Chapter 10. Jerry. I landed at 2:47. The original return was Sunday morning. I changed it at the gate in Chicago, sitting in a plastic chair with a soft brief on my knee, my gray suit jacket folded over the armrest. I did not call ahead. I did not text Melissa. I changed the flight and sat with it. The cab from the airport took 31 minutes. I did not go home. I gave the driver my mother's address instead. Her house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, 40 minutes from Avalon Estates, brick front, white shutters. A mum arrangement on the porch steps appeared every October and disappeared every November. My mother maintained the exterior the way she maintained everything, perfectly, and in a way that made the maintenance invisible. I always admired that about her. I rang the bell. She answered in the good cardigan, the one she wore when she wasn't expecting company, but wanted to appear as though she hadn't been. Dana's car sat in the driveway. Saturday afternoon. Of course, Dana was here. My mother raised an eyebrow. You're early? I know. The living room held the same furniture it held for 20 years. The stiff brocade sofa along the far wall, the wing chairs my father chose. Nobody sat in them because they were uncomfortable and slightly too formal for the room. A side table held 3 framed photos, me at my college graduation, Dana at hers, and the family portrait from 8 years ago where everyone looked at the camera and smiled the correct amount. Melissa was in that photo. She stood at the edge of the frame, on my left, her hand in mine. She smiled the way she smiled at family functions. The performance smile. Even then, 8 years ago, she already performed. I sat on the brocade sofa. It held the same stiffness it always had. No give. The cushions, dense and formal, stayed pristine at the cost of actual comfort. Dana came in from the kitchen with a mug. She looked at my suit jacket, at the shoulder seam. Rough trip? Yes. She sat in one of the wing chairs. My mother took the other. They settled in with the particular ease of 2 women who talked before I arrived and planned to resume after I left. Dana placed her mug on the coffee table. Melissa behaving? She said it lightly, the tone she always used, the one that assumed I would laugh, that I would pick up the thread and carry it the way I always carried it. 12 years of dinners and Sunday visits and phone calls where I handed her the straight line and she delivered the punchline and we all moved on. I looked at my hands. I bombed the Harmon meeting. My mother set her cup down. The suit had a pulled seam. My shirts were wrinkled. I cited the wrong quarter on page 3. I looked up. I didn't have the brief prepared the right way. I didn't know the client's priority concern. I went in half ready. Dana frowned. What does that have to do with... Melissa prepares the brief, I said. She reads the email chain. She notes the client's concern in the margin. She steams the suit. She packs the shirts. I kept my voice level. I didn't know she did those things. I thought she printed and filed. The room held the silence. The family portrait sat on the side table. Melissa at the edge of the frame. Performance smile. 8 years ago. Jerry, my mother said, her patient voice. Every wife manages... She manages everything, I said. The kids' doctors, my dry cleaning, the car details, the Sunday dinners you expect every week. I looked at her. She does all of it, and your daughter sent her 6 words mocking her for it, and I laughed. Dana picked up her mug. She did not drink from it. It was a joke, Dana said. I know. She's always so... Stop. My voice came out flat. Dana stopped. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to tell you something true. Melissa runs my life. I didn't know that until she stopped. And your attitude toward her, yours and Mom's both, it ends. My mother straightened. You don't speak to me. I'm not angry, I said. I'm not yelling. I'm telling you a fact. She will not come to Sunday dinners where she is mocked. She told me that herself. I didn't listen. I'm listening now. The wing chair creaked once under my mother's weight. The mum arrangement on the porch was visible through the front window, orange and yellow, perfect and symmetrical. My mother's version of Melissa's linen placemats, the right appearance maintained at the right cost. Dana, I looked at her directly. You don't call, you don't text her. You come to our house when she invites you, not before. Dana's chin moved. You're serious? Yes. She looked at my mother. My mother looked at her hands. The room stayed quiet. I expected resistance, a counterargument, the collective weight of 20 years of family dynamic pushing back. Instead, the brocade sofa held me in its stiff silence, and nobody said anything at all. I stood up. I put on my jacket. The shoulder seam pulled left. I felt it the moment the fabric settled. I turned to my mother. "I'll call you next week." I walked to the front door, opened it, closed it behind me. The October air hit cold. I stood on the porch step beside the mum arrangement and looked at the cul-de-sac. 12 houses, all of them brick and white shuttered and maintained to within an inch of their lives. The cab sat at the curb. The driver had the meter running. I told him I'd be out in 5 minutes. It was longer than that. I just burned the one bridge I never questioned. The family that told me what I wanted to hear. The audience for the version of myself I performed for 41 years. I burned it to save a house I hadn't been living in. Not truly. I walked back to the cab, got in. The driver didn't ask. I gave him my home address. Chapter 11. Melissa. The front door opened at 4:12. I heard it from the kitchen. The specific weight of it. The way the latch caught and released. I opened that door 10,000 times. I knew its every sound. Owen looked up from his trucks on the living room floor. Lila kept stacking. Jerry stood in the entryway. The gray suit jacket hung off one shoulder. The pulled seam faced me. The white shirt had a crease across the placket that no hotel iron fully corrected. His hair sat slightly wrong, not disheveled, just unmanaged. The way it looked when he didn't have 30 minutes and a clean bathroom counter and the good pomade I kept restocked in the second drawer. He had his carry-on, no garment bag. He left Chicago without the garment bag. The kitchen counter ran clean behind me. No coffee rings, no misplaced keys, no newspaper refolded the wrong way. The dish rack held 2 small bowls, 2 toddler spoons, and the casserole dish I washed after dropping off Pamela's portion. The floor held no secondary mess. The island held nothing but the fruit bowl and the notepad I used for grocery lists. Owen heard his voice first. He abandoned the trucks and ran the short hallway in his socks. Jerry set his luggage down and caught him. He lifted him with both arms and held him against his chest. Owen grabbed a fistful of his collar. Lila pulled up on the coffee table and held her arms out. Jerry crossed the room, crouched down to her level, and set Owen down. Lila grabbed his face with both hands the way she always did. He let her. I watched from the kitchen doorway. He was good with them. He was always good with them. That was the part that made the rest of it harder to carry. Jerry looked up at me over Lila's hands. "You're back early," I said. He came into the kitchen. He did not reach for the refrigerator or his phone or the mail on the entry table. He stood on the other side of the island and put both hands flat on the counter. "I went to my mother's," he said. I waited. I told them. He looked at his hands. "About the text, about Sunday, about what you do." The fruit bowl sat between us, 3 apples and a pear. "Dana doesn't call anymore," he said, shaking his head. "She doesn't come over unless you invite her. I told my mother the same." The ice maker shifted. I looked at him across the island, the pulled seam, the uncorrected crease, the slightly wrong hair. A man who spent 4 days finding out what happened when nobody managed the details of his life. I bombed the Harmon meeting. "I know." He looked up. "Ron texted Daniel." I inhaled and exhaled. "Daniel's wife texted me." He absorbed that. He nodded once. "I didn't know you read the emails. I thought you printed and filed." The notepad on the island had 3 items on it. Monday's grocery list. I wrote it this morning in the quiet after breakfast, before the kids went down for their nap, in the specific piece of a house with no secondary noise. "I've been reading your emails for 6 years, I said. Jerry's hand stayed flat on the counter. "I didn't know that." "I know you didn't." Owen rolled a truck across the living room floor. It hit the baseboard and stopped. He picked it up and rolled it again. I looked at Jerry. The gray suit went to Denver, Houston, the Whitfield dinner in September. Every trip, I pulled it from the dry cleaning bag and checked the seams under the bathroom light. I noticed the shoulder pulling in March, mentioned it once. He said it was fine. I let it go because there were 17 other things on the list. The shoulder seam was his to notice. He wore it to the Harmon group meeting. Jerry took a deep breath and let it out slowly. "What do you need from me?" I pulled the notepad toward me. "I need you to learn how this house runs. Not observe it, learn it." He nodded. Owen's pediatrician is Dr. Hartwell on Birch. His next appointment is November 14th at 9. It's in the calendar under his name. I kept my voice level. Lila's is Dr. Hartwell too. Her well visit is December 2nd, also in the calendar. Okay? The dry cleaning goes to Park Street, not the one on Fenwick. They lose buttons. Park Street. They close at 6 on Fridays. I set the notepad down. The babysitter's name is Claire. Her last name is Donahue. Her emergency contact is her mother, Patricia. The number is in the green folder in the kitchen drawer. Jerry looked at the drawer. I followed his eyes, let out a sigh. I know this is a lot. It's not. He stopped. He started again. It's what you do every day. Yes. The vent whispered. 1 good week doesn't fix 10 years. I need you to understand that. I do. You defended me today. That matters. I held his eye. It's not enough. He didn't argue. He didn't reach for the justification I watched him reach for 100 times. The paycheck argument, the provider logic, the I work hard too that closed every conversation before it could go anywhere real. He stood on the other side of the island and let the silence be what it was. Lila knocked her stack over. She looked at the pieces on the floor, picked the bottom block up, and started again. There's leftover casserole in the fridge, I said. The kids already ate. You can heat it yourself. I picked up the notepad. I walked to the living room. I sat on the floor next to Owen and his trucks. Behind me, the refrigerator opened. The microwave beeped once. Jerry figured it out. Chapter 12. Jerry. Melissa left at 8:15. She had her coat on before I finished my coffee. She kissed both kids on the top of the head. She looked at me once. Not a test, not a warning, just a look that said, "This is yours now," and walked out the door. The house held 3 seconds of silence. Then Lila threw her spoon. I picked it up, put it back on her tray. She looked at me with the specific suspicion of a 1-year-old who knew something was different and hadn't decided how she felt about it. Owen sat across from her with oatmeal on his chin. "Where'd Mommy go?" "Mommy's out," I said. "I'm here." He considered this. He picked up his spoon and kept eating. I stood at the kitchen counter with my coffee and looked at the morning. Melissa left a notepad on the island. Not instructions. She was clear about that. She wasn't going to manage my managing, but she wrote the sequence at the top of the page in her clean, even handwriting. Owen, breakfast, dressed, drop off at 9:15. Lila, breakfast, dressed, nap by 10. Grocery pickup, 11 a.m., order already placed, just collect. 3 items, a simple list. I managed $400,000 client presentations. I flew to Chicago, Houston, and Denver and closed deals in rooms full of men who billed at $400 an hour. 3 items on a notepad should not feel like a foreign language. I started with Owen's shoes. The shoes lived by the back door, Melissa told me. I found one, the right one. The left one sat under the coat rack behind the umbrella stand. Toe first, like it was kicked there at speed and forgotten. I retrieved it. Owen's socks were wrong. He put them on himself, inside out, one bunched at the heel. I peeled them off. I went to the sock drawer in his room. The sock drawer held approximately 40 single socks, no pairs that I could identify immediately. I pulled out candidates, stripes, solids, one with a dinosaur, one with a rocket ship. I dug deeper. The drawer held a small car, 3 crayons, and a piece of hard Halloween candy still in the wrapper. I found 2 socks that matched, mostly. Same color, different thickness. Good enough. Owen sat on the floor and held his feet out like a man at a shoe fitting. I got the socks on, got the shoes on. I tied them twice because the first knot came loose immediately. Lila finished her oatmeal and moved on to eating it off the tray with her fingers. I wiped the tray. I wiped her hands. I wiped her face. She twisted away from the cloth every time, a full-body protest against hygiene. I held her chin with 2 fingers, the way I watched Melissa do it, and got the job done. The clock read 8:51. Owen needed his jacket. The jacket hung on the hook by the back door, which was correct. I felt briefly good about that. I got it on him, zipped it, the zipper stuck at the bottom. I worked it free. 8:54. I grabbed Lila, grabbed the diaper bag. I checked the diaper bag for diapers. 2. Melissa kept 6 in the bag at a minimum. She told me that. I found the box of diapers in the hall closet, second shelf, and restocked to 6. 8:57. I got Owen to the car. I got Lila strapped in. I went back for the diaper bag I left on the kitchen counter. 9:02. Owen's drop-off was at 9:15. The school sat 7 minutes away. I pulled out of the driveway at 9:04. I made it. Owen climbed out of the car with his backpack and walked toward the entrance without looking back. I watched him go. He knew how to do that part. He did it 5 days a week for months. He didn't need me to manage his entrance. He just needed me to get him there. I got him there. I drove home with Lila making sounds in the back seat. The kitchen looked like a disaster site. The oatmeal pot sat on the stove. The tray sat on the high chair, smeared. 2 spoons on the counter, 1 on the floor. The sock drawer hung open from my retrieval mission. The diaper box sat on the kitchen table because I didn't return it to the closet. I started cleaning. Lila needed to be down by 10. I had 22 minutes. I loaded the dishwasher. I wiped the tray. I found the other spoon. I returned the diaper box. I closed the sock drawer. 10:03. Lila was not asleep. She stood in the crib and held the rail and looked at me with absolute clarity. She was not tired. She was interested in what I would do next. I patted her back. I made the sounds Melissa made, low and rhythmic. Lila sat down. She lay on her side. She looked at the wall. 10:17. She was asleep. I walked back to the kitchen. I sat down on the floor with my back against the island and looked at the room. The grocery pickup was at 11. The order was placed. Melissa did that. I just had to collect it. 1 task, drive there, give them the name, drive back. I looked at the green folder in the kitchen drawer. It stuck out 1/2 inch because I opened it last week to find Claire's number and didn't push it back in all the way. Inside that folder lived Claire's emergency contact, Owen's school forms, the pediatrician's after-hours line, the insurance card copies, a handwritten list of Lila's food sensitivities in Melissa's handwriting, dated 8 months ago, updated twice. I pulled the folder out. I sat on the kitchen floor and read it. 15 pages. The paycheck hit every 2 weeks. Automatic. It required nothing from me after the initial setup. 15 pages. The clock on the microwave read 10:31. I had to leave for the grocery pickup in 18 minutes. Lila would wake before I got back. I needed to time it. I needed to think 3 steps ahead while also thinking about right now. I sat on the floor and thought about right now. This was the easiest part of her day. Chapter 13. Jerry. Owen lined the trucks up along the baseboard, not parked, lined, front bumper to rear bumper, in a row that ran from the television stand to the edge of the coffee table. He worked on it for 20 minutes with the focus of a man on a deadline. Lila sat in the middle of the rug with the stacking rings, working through the sequence wrong and not caring. The living room held the particular quiet of a Saturday afternoon with no agenda. I sat on the couch with the grocery list. Next week's. Melissa showed me how the order worked. The app, the pickup slot, the substitution preferences. I placed the last 2 orders myself. I still cross-referenced the green folder to make sure I had the right brands for Lila's sensitivities. I was getting faster at it. My phone sat on the cushion beside me. It buzzed once. Dana. I looked at the screen. The name sat there the way it always did. Familiar, expected. For 10 years, that name meant something easy. A quick call, the family frequency. The comfortable shorthand of people who grew up in the same house and never examined what that house taught them. I picked up the phone. Owen added another truck to the line without looking up. Hey! Dana's voice carried its usual pitch, warm on the surface, the warmth that came before the ask. I waited. Mom's birthday is the 14th, she said. We're doing dinner at her place, the whole family. A pause. The kids should be there. The living room sat quiet around me. The stacking rings clicked. A truck moved 1 inch along the baseboard. Melissa and I will talk about it, I said. The warmth in Dana's voice shifted. Fractional. The way weather changed before you could see it in the sky. It's Mom's birthday, Jerry. I heard you. The kids haven't seen her in weeks. Her voice tightened. Because of this whole... She stopped, started again. Melissa needs to get over this. The phone sat warm in my hand. Solid, real. I looked at Owen's truck line along the baseboard. 17 trucks, nose to tail, in a perfect patient row. She doesn't need to do anything. Jerry. Dana. I kept my voice level. I told you at Mom's house. Nothing has changed. You can't keep the kids away from their grandmother because your wife is in a mood. Stop. She stopped. The word came out flat, not loud, just finished. Dana heard me loud before. She never heard me finished. Melissa is not in a mood, I said. She set a boundary. I set it with her. Those are the same boundary. So she controls who sees your children now. We decide who comes into our home, together. I let that sit a beat. That's how it works. A truck fell off the end of Owen's line. He picked it up. He put it back. Mom is going to be devastated, Dana said. I know. She's not going to understand. I'll call Mom myself. I'll explain it. She can see the kids when Melissa is comfortable. That's it. Dana's breath shifted on the line. I knew that breath. The recalibration. The moment she decided which tool to pick up next. I just think, she said softer now, that you're letting her isolate you from your family. The couch cushion held the grocery list beside me. The green folder sat in the kitchen drawer. The appointment for Owen's November checkup lived in the calendar under his name. The pediatrician's number was the 3rd contact in my phone now. Behind Melissa and the school, I put it there myself. She hasn't isolated me. She showed me what I was missing. There's a difference. Silence on the line. If you cut us off, Dana's voice went thin. I don't know what that means for us. It means you respect my wife. I inhaled and let it out slowly. Or you don't come around. Your choice, not mine. The line held quiet for 3 seconds. Dana hung up. The phone sat in my hand. The screen showed the call ended at 2 minutes and 41 seconds. I looked at it for a moment. Then I went to the messages. The thread with Dana. I scrolled up to the text from the coffee shop. 6 words, a timestamp, and the small gray bubble of my reply underneath it. I deleted the thread. The screen showed no conversation. A blank space where 10 years of easy, unexamined habit lived. Owen looked up from his truck line. Daddy? Yeah, bud. He pointed at the line. Look. I looked. 17 trucks. Nose to tail. Perfect. Good work. He went back to it. A sound from the hallway. I looked up. Melissa stood in the doorway, her coat still on. She came in from the back. I hadn't heard the door. She looked at me, at the phone in my hand. I held it up so she could see the blank screen, the empty space where the thread was. She looked at it for a moment. I set the phone face down on the cushion. What's left on the schedule? I said. Melissa unzipped her coat. She looked at the living room, at Owen's trucks, at Lila on the rug with the stacking rings. Lila goes down at 4, she said. Owen's bath is at 6. Okay. She hung her coat on the hook by the door. The right hook, the one I learned was hers. She went to the kitchen. I picked up the grocery list. Chapter 14. Melissa. The witching hour started at 4:47. It always started at 4:47. I did not know why. Some internal clock in Owen's body counted down from nap time and detonated at the same coordinates every single afternoon. 1 minute, he sat on the rug. The next, he stood at the center of the living room with his face completely undone. The truck was wrong. That was the reason. The blue truck, the specific blue truck, not the other blue truck, possessed a wheel that wobbled. It wobbled for 3 weeks. Owen played with it for 3 weeks without incident. Today the wobble was unacceptable. Today it was the end of the world. I stood in the kitchen doorway. Jerry sat on the rug 6 feet from the meltdown. He was sorting the stacking rings with Lila when it started. He looked up at Owen. He looked at the truck in Owen's hand. He did not look at me. That was the first thing I noticed. For 10 years, when Owen melted down, Jerry's eyes found mine. A reflex, the handoff signal, the look that said, I don't know what to do with this, you handle it. I handled it, every time. I walked across whatever room we were in and absorbed the chaos so Jerry could go back to his phone or his drink or his comfortable distance. His eyes stayed on Owen. Hey. Jerry's voice came low. Not sharp, not the voice he used when he wanted the noise to stop. Come here, bud. Owen did not come. Owen increased volume. Jerry moved. He crossed the rug on his knees and sat directly in front of Owen. Not behind him, not beside him, in front, in his eye line, at his level. I learned that in Owen's first year. You have to come down to the floor. You have to be in the line of sight. You have to make yourself the thing they focus on instead of the feeling. Jerry watched me do it. He never did it himself. He did it now. Show me, Jerry said. He held his hand out for the truck. Owen gripped it harder. The crying pitched up 1 register. Okay. Jerry did not reach for it. He kept his hand open and still. You hold it. Show me the wheel. Owen looked at his own hand, at the truck. The crying softened 1 degree. He turned the truck over and held it toward Jerry, keeping his grip on the back axle. Jerry examined the wheel with his full attention. He spun it once. It wobbled. He nodded like a man presented with important data. That one's not right, he said. Owen's face shifted. Not better yet, but listening. We can fix it, Jerry said, or we get you a new one. But right now, he sat back on his heels. You want to sit with me for a minute? Owen stood for 3 more seconds in the specific suspension of a toddler deciding whether to escalate or accept. His chest hitched twice. He looked at the truck. He looked at Jerry. He sat down. Not on the rug. On Jerry. Climbed directly onto his lap with the broken truck in his hand and his face still wet and his breath still ragged and settled there, like that was the obvious place to be. Jerry's arms came up around him. He did not stiffen. He did not check his phone. He did not look toward the kitchen for a rescue. He sat on the floor with a 35-pound child on his lap and the broken truck between them. And he held on. I stayed in the doorway. Lila watched all of it from her spot on the rug. She looked at Owen on Jerry's lap. She looked at her stacking rings. She chose the rings. The room went quiet. Not the quiet of something ended, the quiet of something settled. Owen's breath slowed. His grip on the truck loosened 1 finger at a time. Jerry said nothing. He did not narrate the resolution or announce the success or look up for acknowledgement. He sat on the floor and let the quiet be enough. I looked at them. The blue truck sat between Jerry's knee and Owen's hip. The wobbly wheel faced up. A small, broken thing that caused the world to end 15 minutes ago now sat forgotten between a father and his son on a Thursday afternoon rug. I thought about the morning I found out Melissa was who I was going to be. Not Melissa Hill. Just Melissa. The version of me that ran the house, the schedules, the green folder, the Sunday dinners, the Mia folder, and all of it. I thought about the version of me I was before all of that calcified into a system, before I stopped expecting to be surprised by the man I married. Jerry looked up, not for praise, not to check whether I saw. He looked up the way you look up when you feel someone watching. His eyes found mine across the room. I held his gaze. The kitchen doorway was 6 feet of distance. Not far. I stood in this doorway 1,000 times. I stood here and watched the back of his head while he watched television. Stood here and ran through tomorrow's list while he sat in his comfortable distance, and I ran out of fumes. I was not running on fumes right now. I was standing still, watching a man sit on a rug with our son, and I was not bracing for the handoff. That was new. Lila held up a stacking ring. She wanted credit. I crossed the kitchen and sat down on the floor beside her. I took the ring. I fitted onto the post in the correct order. She took it back off and handed it to me again. We did that 4 times. Owen went fully slack against Jerry's chest. The truck sat on the rug. Jerry's hand moved once, slow, across the back of Owen's head. I watched from the floor. Not because I was waiting for him to fail, not because I was keeping score. I watched because something in me needed to see it be real, not a performance for my benefit, not a gesture calibrated to land, just a man on the floor with his children on a Thursday afternoon because he finally decided to be there. He was there. I fit another ring onto Lila's post. The house held the 4 of us in its quiet. No schedule to run, no secondary mess to anticipate, no itinerary to track, no suit to steam, no folder to build. Just the rug and the rings and the broken truck and the particular late light of 4 o'clock coming through the window the way it did every Thursday. I let him back in. Not out loud. Not yet. But in the doorway of my chest, something that was closed for a long time opened 1 careful inch. That was enough to start. Chapter 15. Melissa. The kitchen smelled like coffee and scrambled eggs. Not a roast. Not the good bakery bread from Fenwick. There were no linen placemats, no polished silver, and no tension of a Sunday timed around a car that arrived at 2 o'clock on the dot. Just eggs. Jerry's eggs. He learned to make them in March, after Owen requested them 3 Sundays in a row while I was in the bath. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and watched him work. He stood at the stove with the rubber spatula, the right spatula, the one that didn't scratch the pan. He moved the eggs slowly, the way I showed him. Low heat, patience. Don't rush the set. Lila sat in the high chair with a piece of toast and her opinions. Owen stood on his step stool at the counter and stirred his orange juice with a spoon for reasons known only to him. The shared calendar sat open on the counter tablet. Jerry added next Tuesday's pediatric appointment himself. Dr. Hartwell, 9 a.m. Owen's name in the title. A reminder set for the night before. He added it without telling me. I noticed without saying anything. That was the new language of our house. Things done without announcement. Things noticed without commentary. A shared system that ran because 2 people agreed to run it. The green folder lived in the kitchen drawer still, but Jerry reorganized it in February. He tabbed it himself. He added Claire's updated schedule after she changed her availability. The folder was no longer my secret architecture. It was just the folder. Dana had not been in our house since October. Jerry's mother came for lunch on the 3rd Saturday of each month. By invitation. By my invitation. I extended it myself in January, when I decided I could separate the woman from the dynamic she let grow unchecked. She came. She was careful. It was not warm yet, but it was honest. That was enough. Jerry slid the eggs onto 2 small plates. Owen's portion went on the dinosaur plate. Lila's went on the sectioned one with the rubber base. Jerry carried both to the table without being asked, without narrating the effort, without looking up for acknowledgement. I got up and started the casserole, not for Jerry's family, not for a performance. For Pamela Cummins, 2 doors down, because Ron traveled more than usual lately, and Pamela had that look. The one I recognized. The one where you keep your face very still and your answers very short, and you do not let anyone look at you for too long. I wore that look for years. Chicken thighs, salt and paprika, rice in the dish, stock poured over, lid on, oven at 350. An hour, and it was done. I set it to cool on the counter while Jerry handled the morning cleanup. He cleared the plates, he rinsed them. He loaded the dishwasher in the order I showed him, glasses on the top rack angled in, not flat. He wiped the stove with the damp cloth, not the good dish towel. Small things, correct things. Things I did alone for 4 years while he sat with his coffee and his phone and his comfortable distance. He put the cloth in the hamper and dried his hands. Kids need shoes, I said. He got the shoes. I packed the casserole at 11 and tucked a dish towel around it in the carrier to keep the heat in. Owen had his trucks. Lila was down for her nap. Jerry had the monitor. Back in 20, I said. He nodded. Already on the floor with the trucks. The October air hit cool and clear. The Cummins house sat 2 doors down, the same distance it always had been, same brick front, same stone driveway, same fall wreath on the door that Pamela put up every year the first weekend in October. I rang the bell. No answer. I knocked. Pamela's voice came faint from somewhere inside, the back door. The gate to the side yard sat unlatched. I came through, crossed the patio, and tried the back door. It opened. The kitchen held the smell of coffee gone cold. A mug sat on the counter, half full. A dish towel was folded wrong on the edge of the sink. The laptop sat open on the kitchen table. I set the casserole down. The screen faced me. Real estate listings, a grid of houses, large houses, yards. I looked at the header bar at the top of the page. A city. Not our city, not anywhere near our city. A city Ron Cummins told the neighborhood he never visited. I knew because he said it at the Avalon block party last summer. Daniel asked, Ron laughed. Never been, never going. The listing showed 3-bedroom homes, good school districts, a search radius of 15 miles from a downtown I did not recognize. Pamela came in from the hallway. She stopped when she saw me. She looked at me. She looked at the screen. Her face did not move. I knew that face. I wore it at a coffee shop table while a phone lit up with 6 words and my husband laughed. The face that held everything in so nothing showed on the outside. The face that meant the inside was already a different country. I picked up the casserole carrier from the counter. I set the dish on her table. Chicken and rice. Pamela looked at the dish. Thank you. We stood in her kitchen, the cold coffee between us, the open laptop on the table. Neither of us looked at it again. I walked back to the door. Pamela. She looked up. I held her gaze for one long second. The way Mia looked at me. The way you look at someone when you want them to know they are not alone before you know how to say it out loud. I gave a short nod and stepped out the door to walk home. The end. You've been listening to The Wives of Avalon Estate, Book 3, The Call She Answered, written by Mare Sutton, published by Avalon Press, an eReads production. Copyright 2026 by Mare Sutton, all rights reserved. The quiet strike is spreading. Melissa found her equilibrium, but just across the cul-de-sac, another pristine marriage is built on a massive lie. Pamela has always been the unflappable anchor of Avalon Estates, the perfect hostess, the loyal wife who managed the social calendar while her husband, Ron, managed the wealth. She trusted him completely. Until she saw the iPad. Ron swore he had never been to Charleston, so why is he secretly funneling their retirement funds into a sprawling estate down there? And more importantly, who is he buying it for? Pamela isn't going to cry. She isn't going to ask him for an explanation. She is going to quietly follow the money, untangle his web of hidden assets, and execute the most ruthless, calculated strike Avalon Estates has ever seen. Some secrets are too expensive to keep. The horror is inside the house. Book 4, The Life He Hid, available now.